And I need to ask my colleagues who are on the Board of Finance, Steve and Eric and myself, I'd like to ask for a motion that I'd be acting chair for this meeting.
So, I'll move that. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have a chair for this meeting. And then the next thing I would like to ask for is, we need to have at least 4 of our members here. And we don't, so I am going to ask for a motion to seat until we get a member like Karina in.
Motion to seat Judy for Dan. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we have Judy.
Jacobs.
Yes, Judy Jacobs. I know.
Make it official.
Judy Jacobs, for
Dan.
anyway, Dan. Okay, and can I'm missing David also. So can I have a motion for someone to seat David?
To seat.
I'll move to
Ginger.
seat David.
Ginger for David.
No,
Ginger.
Ginger for David.
That confused me. I was like,
Okay, sorry. I would like to make a motion to seat Ginger for David.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we have Ginger, for Betty for David. Okay, and we have any more alternates present? Carol's not here, right? Okay, no Carol. And let me know if Karina joins.
The link she has is not working. It's not
Okay. We have the agenda as presented. I don't see any reasons to amend the agenda that we have. I don't have to accept the agenda, do I? We've never done that before. Great. I'd like to offer the public an opportunity to make a public comments, 2 minutes. Those attending the Zoom, please use the chat feature for our wonderful Denise to let us know. Anyone wish to make any public
I
comments?
just have a question.
Oh, you want to just name and,
Laura,
thanks, Laura.
Falls Village resident. If the Falls Village Community Development Corporation applies for a grant, does that need any sort of approval from our elected officials, or can they do?
They're a separate 501c3, as I understand.
Yeah.
They-
You'd have to check with them because they're not a town entity and we
But they
wouldn't.
do get grants that, for instance, they got a grant from the Torrington Savings Bank, which could have been applied for by the town. And then they used it to do some testing on the Borneman property, which people on the P&Z were concerned about because that had already been done. And as Henry may remember, I had concerns about the formation of the Falls Village Community Development Corporation, and I was told at that time that a member of the Board of Selectmen and a member of the Board of Finance or the P&Z would serve on that board. Until very recently that has been true, and until very recently they stated on their website that this was in their bylaws. And then in the last couple of weeks, Henry has apparently resigned, as has David Wilburn, who was on the Board of Finance. So at this point, they have no representation on their board from our town. And it's concerning to me. This might seem very small, but they're very proud of creating a pollinator garden. And I think that's great. But the ongoing cost of the pollinator garden is now the responsibility of the town. And those are the reasons that I feel that a coordination between the town and the Falls Village Community Development Corporation is important. But I know we've got a big agenda. That's just a comment, and we can move on.
It's a great comment. Thank you so much. Thanks. Anybody else? Oh, yes, please. So we have,
Thank you, Greg Marlowe,
yes,
speaking as a citizen, right? Last meeting, you had a representative on the solar project come and do a presentation. And I guess I would like to know, I guess I lied a little bit, it's a little bit of a selecting question too. What is the Board of Finance thinking as far as moving forward at this point? It sounded like there was like a straw poll support of the project at that time, but now what happens? Would you like to go back into the hands of the Board of Selectmen to move forward to
I think that's
figure
what,
out funding and contract?
I
and
would,
whatnot?
I would suggest that, that we include that as a discussion for old business, if that's okay with everybody, because I don't want to go back and forth here, if that's okay. So that's the solar project.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get some updates so that we can respond to those
Aim-
too.
You need somebody to make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Yes.
And second, and then vote on it to
Right.
add it to the agenda.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
thanks. Judy has made a
Under old
motion
business.
to add the solar project discussion to the old business. Can I have a second?
second,
Steve seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And then furthermore, so peek behind the curtain, you haven't seen it yet, but since there's only public comment on this side, I thought I'd make a comment now. At the last Board of Selectmen meeting, I spoke a little bit to my fellow select board members about our general fund size and the need that I felt to shrink the size of it to the benefit of our town. And you will be getting some numbers tonight, and I am in support of downsizing our general fund because of this, I think, overly large size.
Right. Thank you. And good to know that too. Any other comments from the public? Okay,
This is a spreadsheet I'll be handing out with
Okay.
explanations
thank you.
Brenna,
during my
Here.
report.
Corinna, okay, great. So Corinna is joined at 6:42.
Brenna, can you hear us?
Okay,
Wait, Brenna, can you hear us?
he's working on some controls there. So any communications that I'm not aware of any? I did not check the box because I
didn't see any.
Okay.
when I looked.
Thank you. Okay, passing on communications, reports. I hope everyone's reviewed the minutes of the August 14th regular meeting of the Board of Finance. Can I please have a motion to accept the secretary's report last minutes of the August 14th regular meeting?
So moved.
Eric,
Second.
Judy, thank you. All in favor?
I,
Any amendments or discussion? Okay, thank you very much. No objections, so that's passed. All in favor. Treasurer's report. Here we go. Not a lot of activity since the fiscal year has started. But important things to note as during public comment, Greg has brought up that the general fund is fat. But as I said, not too much activity yet. As far as revenues. And still and expenses. That's Board of Education. Let's have a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll move. Second,
Okay, now any discussion? Any
No.
questions? Especially for those who are a little newer at the table. We didn't get a property tax report yet, but if those numbers are right. For the property taxes recorded from July 1st, that's already a very good start to healthy. Okay, no discussion. All in favor of aye? Aye. And
Aye.
okay, Corinna is objecting.
No, she's.
I'm not objecting.
Just bad timing. Got it. All are in favor. Thank you, Corinna. Nice to hear you.
Sorry, it took me a moment. Didn't work.
Okay, motion passed unanimously to accept that. Tax collector's report, I do not have it. So I guess
Rebecca hurt herself, so she did not get the text.
Okay.
So would we move to,
we'll table it.
table?
Okay, Eric moves to table. Second.
Second.
Okay, thanks, Eric and Steve. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes to table that.
Did they have the tax sale?
That'll all be in my
Okay.
report.
Great. Board of Education report. We have that here today. Again, not a lot of activity since the start of the year. Let's see, this is July through August budget. Okay, so,
It will find it.
yeah, it is. It's not a lot of activity yet.
It's
So-
early.
Can I have a motion to accept the Board of Education report as presented?
So move.
Eric, thank you. Judy, thank you. All in favor of accepting the Board of Education report, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for that. And motion passes. And we will now turn it over to Henry for the Selectmen's report. So for all ears.
This might be a little bit longer than normal.
As long as it's entertaining.
Tonight, we're going to appoint the town treasurer and bookkeeper, Michelle. Basically, that's to make sure that we have continuity because Linda's leaving on election day. I will be leaving on election day. And we want to make sure that we have somebody in place to do the two jobs so that there is absolutely no breakdown during the takeover by whomever it might be on the new board.
Takeover.
What?
The takeover.
Yeah,
And that'll give overlap also, but she's always been training anyway, but.
yeah.
Okay.
And so we're gonna go through some proposed ordinances or policies tonight. One is on a local bidder process to make sure that we're giving the local people a real good shot at getting business that the town generates. There's gonna be one on raffles because the state laws changed. and,
Again,
It always changes, everything changes. And a leash law. And we're not necessarily going to have these as ordinances. We may very well just have them as policies. We're gonna set a date for a town hearing on the sale of the 35 Railroad Street property. And also probably set a date for a town meeting. It's all for discussion tonight. There is a request for ARPA funds to be utilized to prepare and submit an application for federal funds for the Cobble Ridge Bridge project. That is not the culvert project. It is, the culvert project is being done so that we can do the bridge project. So that people will have egress from the properties, if so needed, if they have to take down both lanes at the same time. Doing a lane at a time costs more money, but that's all we need for the federal fund application, and we have $5,800 left in the ARPA funds. I thought that would be a good use for some of it. We're also going to probably approve a request by the rec director to utilize the town green for Falls Village Festival and Halloween celebrations. And details of that will be discussed at our meeting. I can't remember the exact date of the,
29th.
I think it's the 20, is it the 20? The 29th is Halloween, but what's the date of the Falls Village Festival? Do you remember?
That 29th, that's the
The
20th.
request is in there, I believe.
Anyway, I have it. I
Yeah.
just,
I don't have it.
It's
It
the 29th,
is.
Halloween's the 31st.
yeah, 29th from 1 to 3 and the Halloween is the 31st. Okay,
So the festivities are the 29th.
correct.
Yeah.
And just to let you know that the Falls Village Daycare did not have to utilize all of its funds for the original project that was done because they got a grant from somebody to reduce that, but they now have a leaking roof and they need to have that repaired and some other work done that is relatively minor, which will use up the balance of their grant. And the Board of Selectmen is in favor of that. So
Okay.
they're not getting any more money than originally allocated. They're just gonna use it all up. Okay. I want to thank all the residents and businesses in the center of town for contributing to the success of the historic car parade on 8/31/2023. We have made upgrades to the EV station. I still think that there is did they finally put the stickers on it?
No, they have not, and we're still in discussion because it is actually down right now after they put those upgrades.
Yeah, okay, good. This is.
That never happens.
No, that never happens. The solar project, update, we want to, discuss, which is, if we want to lock in the prices, we're gonna need a commitment this year because prices will probably go up next year, especially for the solar panels. And I would like, I don't want to vote necessarily tonight, but I would like to have a consensus that you will take a vote in October to approve the project so that we can confirm it with our Greenleaf Energy Solutions so that we can lock in the price of the project. So, but I know you've added that to your agenda, so I won't. Painting a town hall will occur sometime in the fall. Unless we continue to get unrelenting rain, in which case it's all the painters are behind on outdoor work because of the rain. And it will be early in spring. We have an issue with water testing. Remember when we sold the water company to Aquarian, they provided all the testing of the daycare center for free for 2 years. We are now working through that, and we think that the water testing is turning out to be much more expensive than we thought, which is probably why Aquarian didn't want to do it anymore. And I am not sure at this time what additional dollars I'll need added to line 102352, which is maintenance for the daycare, but it will probably be in the neighborhood of $6,000. But I would like to verify that again with Linda and have a little bit more discussion with her about that.
Can I just ask a question about that?
Sure.
So it's been a long time since I've been there, a long time, but when I was there was that big pond that was the town pool for a long time, and then it was fenced off, but what exists there right now?
Well, there's a well. They have an independent well, but because it's a daycare center,
Oh, okay, it's the well that you're talking about.
it's the well.
Okay, well,
That
okay.
has to be tested
Yes.
Individually. I'm sorry, I
Okay.
should have explained.
well,
that
water,
better.
got it. Okay, so that's fine.
I have a question. Were we under contract with somebody for that testing?
Yes, we are now.
We are now.
Mhm.
These extras, were they brought forward at the time? Were they included?
Yeah, but I didn't realize that it needed to be done every month, which is my misunderstanding. I thought it had to be done quarterly, like it has to be done for this. Daycare centers have to be done every month,
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, it-
so it was under a projected.
but it's cheaper. It was the cheapest bid we got.
What was the bid? I'm sorry.
A bid for testing water.
How much,
company.
no, but how much was the bid?
It's turning out to be about $400 a month to do all the testing.
So about 5,000 a year.
Right. And, but also understand there was a month gap between when this company came in, which put us in a default position as far as the state goes. And there was some costs involved, I think $1,000 in getting that all straightened out with, so that the
So that's
state,
why you're saying the 6,000.
yeah.
should you have redo the contract, redo the bid, or so that there's nothing else comes up?
Well, nothing, there's nothing else that will come up. It's just, I didn't realize, and I'm sorry, that's my mistake. I did not realize that a daycare center had to be tested every month.
Okay,
And so I thought that we.
So the new contract is
Well-
for obviously once a month or whatever.
Or every, the testing quote.
Yeah, the
They just gave
testing,
you
quote,
testing
The
quote.
testing quote.
How
and
long is the contract good for?
a year.
So we could go out to bid.
Yeah, we can go out to bid again. We just have to make sure that we get a
Certified.
certified
Okay.
water operator. And the state gave me 4 names, 3 responded to me. This was the cheapest bid on all line items on it. The error occurred in not recognizing that it was a monthly test that we had to do.
Okay, good to know.
And,
So at some point, you're going to be asking for an allocation.
yeah,
Okay.
I just want to check the numbers. I want to make sure that I don't give you an inadequate number or an overly grand number
Right.
before I, start, so, but that will come up next month so that we can probably, well, it can be done under your discretion because you have $20,000 of discretion. The last thing I have is I have a spreadsheet to pass around to everybody. And it will require some explanation. And it is in line. Greg and I must think along the same lines because this is a question that has been,
May I have another copy for Denise?
sure.
Yeah, just so she can follow. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
I can make
I see.
copies.
No, I have that.
Oh, you go, okay.
So,
What we're looking at is that the general fund this year ended up being higher than anticipated at the. As you were approaching the budget time and everything else. And you're anticipating taking 323,000 from the general fund. That is out of this number of the general fund already. That is funds that will probably be used this year. We had a very successful tax sale. All the properties that were on the tax sale sold. That netted us $114,000, which is pretty good. And we all, I think that there is a 98% chance, barring some circumstance coming up that Road Street, as is for 300,000. I put in here 209. Because there will be some closing costs. I less than 5,000. However, I put $10,000 in just to be careful. And I'm estimating if we close sometime, we will have about $1,106,000 in our general fund. Budget, that's this year's annual budget. For cost. And these are round numbers because until we we will iron out the cost.
Ballparks.
But this is within what? As I understand it, which would be 600,000 net year maintenance agreement. The federal IR and Inflation Reduction Act, not the government account. Although it probably is for the solar farm.
Right.
It would be 180,000 because we get. One of the reasons I want to capitalize the maintenance contract. Why not get the 30% of the maintenance contract on top?
Okay, so the 180 is 30%.
And 180. The cost of the town would be 420,000. Remember that will. $5,000 of savings a year in electrical bills on a net basis. So if we paid that, end up with 680, 12% of our budget. If we look at our normal budget return, we use under budget every year. Because remember, we try and budget to what we think. We try and handle all those things in our projects. 686. But at the end of the start of next year, it would leave us at approximately 13%. You might take off the budget for next year. So but that number was too low, anticipating taking a large amount of money from the budget. Taxes at 21 mils. You might want to only, you might want to finance of that. So we know that we have the Cobble Road project coming up. Given the thing, or from the builder, it's gonna be about 700,000. We paid $100,000. So the cost of the town, because the state will pay it for the pre-work that we have done with the budget. The 100,000, they'll pay us 50% of that.
Okay.
So the net cost to us somewhere around hours. And if we can be $33,000. Gets less every year, and we usually have a fixed payout. And just to remind you, service center, but we do still owe $1,251,000 on that. 2030. The Water Street Bridge / Kellogg roof that will pay off will probably be late because we've spent $75,000 rebate from building the bridge to pay down the loan. So that took about 4 years off of that. I just wanted to, our debt limit, our debt load in this town for a town of ours. We're a small town, but on a per capita basis is extremely low. Paying for some of this as we work along is the surplus. You always want to keep enough in the kitty to make sure the tax collect or the tax scheme that you in place, but I think that we're going to be well above those limits. I would like to see some of that money used to
benefit.
And
I have a question,
sure,
and maybe some other people remember this, but I remember there's King saying that, it's prudent not, to 11% of your budget in the general fund,
well,
right?
this is several years ago, before you were on the board, that we never wanted to drop below 8%,
Right,
10%,
okay,
and we never wanted to keep more than 12.
okay.
What is it on?
It
It's
would
at
be
19 right now.
19% if these two things go through. And then be holding
Yeah.
up
It just,
taxpayers'
at
money.
a certain point, doesn't make sense.
Right, it's not working,
Collect at that point, we're collecting.
we need to,
Budget, we need to.
yeah, we're not a profit
organization.
organization, yeah, we're not a commercial organization,
Right.
we are,
No. But we are taking 325,000 out of our budget this year. So that we can lower the taxes
Right.
more,
right,
323,000.
but
That's already
Yeah.
accounted for. in
And
this
we will
amount.
see. To all the new assessments and everything else, where we sit, because we don't. Where we sit with all the.
how often are
of the
assessments
properties.
done?
Assessments are done,
I don't see that for a while,
but there's a lot of building going on in town, so.
those will
you-
come in.
You just sit back and,
I have a comment, actually. I mean, we're talking about reducing what's in the fund. I caution being too, $1,000. The town, this. We need to look into our infrastructure, the roads and the buildings. And see what that needs to get repaired, what needs to be done, maybe, one bridge out of the, 40-something bridges we have.
I had a long talk with Tim today about our bridges. It can be done over time.
Yeah, I know they can. It's
And-
not only bridges, it's roads also.
The big infrastructure picture is what you're saying,
Yes, I mean, we can do a lot. Yeah.
and it's
But
not,
you can
and
do
you're
that
not
in
even
the
just
future.
saying the solar farm, you're saying the whole picture.
You see the whole picture, yes, but here they're talking about, and then taking out a loan for the bridge project.
Yeah, but this one is income producing is one of the things to think about, but I think you're right, to look at the whole picture, because there are many needs, it's not just,
Those things.
yeah, and they're come up, right now, they will come up sooner or later.
Cost be, would it be this year? 600?
It would. This year, if we do it, well, probably wouldn't get done this year.
That's what
If
I'm
we
getting
get
at.
it done in October. Approve it in October, they can commit. They probably can't get it done by year end.
If it says in our old business. By June 2020. Completed by January 2025 deadline.
Right, we can't make our decision. Or is what I recalled, I also looked that up.
Yeah.
So that's correct. The only reason prices isn't gonna go up, it's income producing. And a look, if you wanna. Of it. And pay down part,
I
I'm
think
saying-
Steve's saying is,
It's not gonna go away. It'll be there next year, it'll be there the year after. Well, I think technology,
no, Steve.
the grant
Steve,
expires.
yes, you can reapply for another. Maybe at another location.
3-year waiting period. By June 24, we have a 3-year waiting.
I wouldn't be against looking into putting something on the rather than taking up a piece, has planning and zoning approved the location
Was,
We're looking at,
inland wetlands that
or
was.
inland wetland?
inland wetland is Recreation Commission. I've communicated with, Ted Moy, whose thing takes up so.
An acre.
And actually, I'm just going to, for a point of order, say that we're gonna get into the meat of little bit agenda. Your point, Steve, is that you're not wiping it off the options.
No.
from- There are some missing. What's the best way for us as a Board of Finance to really understand what the big picture is as far as things that Tim takes care of and that kind of stuff? Greg, can you?
And I think, you know, Steve and I had this discussion in our bridge committee meeting and the bridge committee.
Yep.
uh,
Right.
But that's, we had talked about, that's where I think where a lot of my conversation about spending the surplus. With that, so, you know, it's definitely more to look at than just College Road, there's. Different things to look at, so it's the infrastructure in this town is critical to look at.
What is the best way for the Board of Finance to gain an understanding of not just bridges, but roads, other elements of our infrastructure
Yeah, and
responsibilities?
through a committee like that, we would have to come back and.
Maybe make a
I had told
presentation?
Steve I was gonna look, see what we had, so we know kind of what our surplus is now. Now, my next task as chairman of that committee would be to assess the cost of doing what we know needs to be done.
Mhm.
And then
So
Okay, Eric?
So-
I just have, I have a thing, in all of this, you know, to make a decision on anything right now, we have so little information, just saying,
Yeah, I
so
agree.
little, right now, making a decision whether.
Well, we
Right
don't
now,
have to
we
make a
would have to,
decision now.
right, absolutely, I'm just saying. But this is something that I have been saying since whatever I've been on, is if we have a general budget, right now, we have an excess of 19%, right? We're at 19%. We're supposed to be between 8 and 11, possibly even 14. This is the people's money. The people are paying taxes, and that's how we generally collect, for the most part, unless we sell this or that, right, but I am saying it should not be more than 14%, and if it is, it goes back to the people. Not even infrastructure, it should be reduced in their taxes. And because we are taking it out of their taxes for the most part. And that is because I'm not doing my job to say, why is it growing? Why is that growing? If it's growing, then when we do the mill rate, we're not doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And if
So,
we should not have that much of an
and it sounds,
excess in our budget, and it's wonderful to have it. But it is not what we have said we were going to do
Okay.
and do, and I'm all about.
But here, I understand where you're going from and going towards, however. Understand that by lowering the tax, you're gonna increase the difference between the tax money coming in. That dips very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
and
And
so,
then
not
you have to
supposed-
have a tax increase.
But we are not supposed, we as a general rule,
I
as
think
this
we're holding
committee
too much.
says, we're
I'm
not
just-
being 14.
okay, so I'm just gonna grab you here for a second more. So we have a interesting spreadsheet from our board of, our first selectmen, thank you. We have a very good point from Steve that says we need to have a better understanding. And I would propose, we don't have to make any motions about this yet, that we gain that understanding through a presentation from the people who know, whether it's the Bridges Committee or Tim or any number of people who have an in-depth understanding, even from the selectmen, of our infrastructure. So as a committee, as a board, we can get a grasp of what we can expect over the next few years. And then on top of it, I believe Eric is wisely suggesting there is yet another option of what we can do with this money, which is to reduce taxes, which, you know, he's not saying reduce them drastically. He's saying that is an option, and we should look at we should look at the impact of that, and we should look at it over time. But it can also have benefits, which is, you know, attracting more residents or businesses or whatever. But we also want to understand the possible negatives by looking at it over time. But I think it's a valid option for us to be looking at, and I appreciate you presenting these options. And I really appreciate your presenting additional options. And I think we need to look at all of them, and we don't need to make a decision right now about what to do with
I'm
this.
not
general
asking
fund.
you to make
Right.
a decision.
No, and I
But you're
didn't.
wisely,
Yeah.
but you're wisely saying it's a fat fund and we need to educate ourselves in order to make a decision. And I think that's laudable.
Yeah, and actually, I think for the majority of the bridges in town, because Tim and I had a long discussion about it today. The repairs that need to be made are relatively minor. Have to do with scouring and. Or scoring, I guess you would say, scoring and some missing plaster pieces and maybe some guardrails leading up to some of our small bridges.
Okay.
But I think that those can be done a couple of, at a year for, I don't know, 20,000.
No, you can't say
So-
that. You can't say that.
Well, and
Well-
I'm not
No, wait a
expecting
second.
you.
I've seen the book. I've got the book. On all on the bridges,
Right.
and it's a lot more complicated than that.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was 250 to 300,000 to get our book to zero.
All of our bridges. Oh, yeah, but I'm saying if you do one or two a year. And take the simple
I was
ones.
just giving some history to support where Steve was coming from.
Yeah.
We've been having.
But
Jamie, I think
some
you
of them
summed it
are
up
are very easy to
Some
fix.
stuff is low hanging fruit for sure.
And the low hanging fruit, we should grab.
Okay, so
Did you have a comment? Larry?
That was
I
it?
think Amy really summed up where I wanted to go, is the same thing, because I did look at lower, doing a tax rebate in the second installment of taxes. And it's really kind of, something that threw the tax department into spins, because I never heard of such a thing. But then if you think about what we're proposing for infrastructure, that's really in essence saving taxpayers money as well. So I want to be really clear that the fund isn't fat due to over budgeting. It's really underspending on top of
revenue,
the revenue coming in from
Exactly.
different spots.
and I think we're
So
fortunate.
now that we're fortunate to have that fund, let's do
Let him
something that
finish.
best benefits the taxpayers, and infrastructure of any of these
Yeah.
things that are spoken of
Right.
are a good way, I think, equal to putting it back into the pocket. And Eric is not just saying of January, he's talking about next year.
Yeah.
But the board knows
All I'm
that,
saying
you
is,
know your charge.
all I wanna say is we have between this and this percentage, and we've been over it for two plus years, 3 years. That is a lack of planning on my part. Of saying that I should have presented this to the board earlier and said, listen, if we have those percentages.
We were
If that
done.
is something that we do, if that's something that we as a board have said in the past, we want to be at this percentage, and then we go over it. Well,
But that's what
why
we
have
did.
those numbers
That's
at
what
all?
we did last year. We were up and we went down to 11.
Right.
We sat next to each other during that meeting and we went down to 11. It's
Right.
just this year that
Why?
we went down to
No,
11
why did we go back up?
because of all of this revenue and the
Right.
performance. It's this
Look at the
fiscal year just
spreadsheet.
I
finished.
know, I did.
Yeah, it's just-
$400,000
Yeah.
of money that we were
Yeah.
not expecting
Yeah.
that's coming in.
What I'm
It's-
saying
We've been irresponsible the other
I'm not
years.
saying, I'm just saying is that it's been getting bigger and bigger since I've been on board.
We went,
You're making it sound like it's mismanagement. It's not mismanagement.
I'm not saying it's, no, I
We-
said it right
we
in the
judge-
beginning.
We judge by where we
Right.
get is everybody comes with their budgets. The selectmen hand them down to us.
Mhm.
That's what they're
Projected.
expecting. That's what they're projecting.
Absolutely. No, I'm not, and I said right from the beginning, what I said was there were other things coming in. I even said it. It wasn't just
But if it
taxes.
does come under,
But
and we have a savings, that means we're doing a good job. But like Greg was saying, I think some areas we're underspending.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I
I
don't,
do agree with
but
that.
I just want to say that I don't think that we have an over, Eric. At least since I've been on the board. We stayed at, the last time was, we went down 11% and we reduced the mill rate. I mean, intentionally,
We've only reduced the mill rate once since I've been on this board,
right,
and that was this last year.
right, but the year before, we
I would
went
like,
11%. Karina?
well, we reduced the mill rate, but we didn't reduce the taxes. The mill
Right.
rate went down, the taxes went down.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out. That's all.
Thank you, thank you. So, at this point, I would like to ask, you all, how would you like to learn more about, Steve's option, which is the infrastructure? Would you like a present, what is the best way to get that information? Is it just from Bridges or is it from Tim? Who is it?
Well,
you wanna hear from?
if you wanna do it, Tim is very happy with his paving schedule. He thinks he can keep the roads.
No, but who can we hear from?
That's really Bridges. Bridges are the main, in my opinion, maybe Steve has a different one. Bridges are the major concern
Okay.
that I have because we pushed that off 20 years.
Okay, Steve,
Yes.
have a feeling of how we can best understand that?
Well, yeah, I'm on the
Yeah.
bridge committee, Greg is chairman.
Mhm.
So we could get together with Greg, or I mean with Timmy. And come up with something, but it's not just that, it's our buildings,
Buildings in the
this
town.
building, all
School.
town-owned buildings, all
Right.
the
Senior
sidewalks,
Yes,
everything needs to be looked at.
so what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think exactly, you kind of need to understanding. You have to lay it out. You kind of look at a projection. You could look at some bridges and say, these need
But
immediate.
that's just Bridges.
I know, but anything, I mean, and even the other thing I look at is going, okay, well, if I'm gonna dump 420,000 in cash, is there another option? Is there an option? I mean, maybe it makes more sense to spread that out over 20 years. And take
The income.
the
producing
income,
thing.
you know, and reduce the expense as it goes over and use the money in other places.
Mhm.
And
But-
things that you don't
Right,
finance.
Corinna?
Well, my point would be, we need a better picture of what needs improvement. And then I
Yeah, but what
agree
do you
with,
recommend?
okay, we lay out, okay, this can wait, this can.
No,
this
but Corinna,
now,
what,
but we.
do you, Corinna, have any suggestion for how best
Well,
to
the
get?
presentation of the appropriate committee would
Well, we have
be,
Bridges.
And then we should ask.
Okay.
Different commissions and committees in town.
Maybe ask what they
correct.
need as repairs or.
Would planning and zoning, I don't know,
Amy, I would suggest that the
Without
bridge
blowing it up.
committee, kind of oversee it, and we'll bridge out, through the board of selectmen, I'll ask for a broader scheme, and we.
That
can
will
start breaking
include-
it down to gather from all these different agencies, our town commissions.
The
our
buildings.
Highway, the buildings, the paving schedules, the replacement of machineries, cause I think that all needs to be looked at again, so, but it's gonna be a few months.
oh, yeah,
But
I-
I think that we just charge the bridge committee, we can make it maybe infrastructure committee or something. And, we already have a lot of data, we know what we need, but then we definitely have to take a whole organic look at everything.
I think that's,
And come back around, and we have time, we're just in.
yeah, it would be
We're
helpful,
barely into our
because
fiscal year.
if we had that information, we as a
We can
group,
make a better decision.
Well, you can make
Yeah,
it
it's not just a better decision now, but over time.
Massive.
We can make plans, we can be strategic.
The
Eric?
question is,
Eric?
I may be just totally wrong and tired, whatever. How much of we decide where this money goes, or is it the selectmen giving us options? We don't necessarily sit as a group
Right.
and decide
No,
where this,
Well, you
it
have to
should,
do it
isn't it
that way.
mostly,
You do the dollar value.
we task the selectmen to come up with options for us,
right, but
correct? Okay.
But
the
you
No,
one thing
I'm
we
just-
can is we
right,
can
but-
say, we don't think it's advisable to do this.
Just, No, I agree with you. I'm not I'm just
Yes.
trying to, in my head,
We come
Yeah,
up,
that's all.
we come
Yeah.
up with
The use.
suggestions. The whole reason that I presented that tonight is I think that this needs a discussion.
Yes.
I think it needs to be opened up to the thinking of the Board of Finance and the selectmen. I will tell you, I think I'm speaking for all three selectmen. We feel very uncomfortable if these sales go through. The tax sale's done, that's finished kaput. But the point that I am getting at is that I think that this is an issue that needs to be discussed.
Well,
And
that's
you
what the plan
can't-
is.
And so I'm very willing to do that. I had a very good discussion with Tim today. I think that Tim is more worried. There are a lot of simple things that we can do to some of the bridges. Some are more complicated and we'll need some help.
but I think that's what Steve's saying. We
Yeah.
need to look at that before we even.
I'm
look at
all
the
in
other thing.
favor.
So,
all
I
in
mean,
favor.
right, Steve? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what, yeah, and so I'm not disagreeing with anybody. I'm just saying there's a lot of, this is like an onion, right? You know what I mean? It's a
Yes,
lot of different layers.
But and we don't need to get into the weeds, but we do need an overview. And so I would accept your offer to do, if your committee is willing, I think our board would be grateful for that insight. If your committee would form a subcommittee infrastructure, and if you wouldn't mind doing that overview survey for us. This is September. Do you think you might have something before the end of the year? November or
I
December?
think it could look good by December.
Okay,
Beginning
and
of the year.
thank you. And then there's something else I want to ask you all, and that is with regard to Eric's proposal. Again, as an individual board member, I wouldn't be comfortable looking at that proposal of reducing unless I really understood, like, what does reducing it this much mean? And how does that impact us as far as the marketability of our town? So what's the best way to get that information? Would it be for one of us to meet with Rebecca and say, can you paint this picture for us in
No,
these
that's-
different scenarios?
That would be that would be Linda.
Okay,
That would be Linda. Linda could do it in about 15 seconds or less.
so maybe we want
Or I
to
could.
have some questions to give Linda so that she can help us understand the impact of different
Look,
tax rebate or tax reduction scenarios so that we can have a better understanding of that. If I'm suggesting something you don't think we need, just speak up. I'm okay.
I don't like, you
The
know,
more we know, the better.
like I'm just saying this, with all these new taxes, the way it just came out. We lowered the mill rate, but yet most people
Had
pay more in
increases,
tax.
right.
So with that, it's gonna, might not increase in the general fund because of other expenses going up and everything, but we need to look at that, and that's what I'm saying. It says, we tried to keep it the same, and I remember the meeting, with the information we had, I remember this. The information we had, we tried to keep it so it wouldn't increase.
Mhm.
But, with the information we had, we were a little off and that happens. So I'm saying we need to just relook and just make sure that we, if we
Yes.
could possibly lower it a little to back where it was, I'm okay with that, but I don't think we need to just keep, I think we need to keep it. And if the general fund has more in it, I'm not saying drain the general fund. I'm not saying, that. I'm just saying that we, I know that a lot of the people have been saying like my taxes went up.
So if we asked Linda, what would be the impact over 1 year and maybe what would be the impact over 5 years if we gave a tax rebate this year of a certain amount and maybe or a different scenario with a different tax rebate? And then the same thing, what
Or
if
even
you
lower
reduce the mill
for everybody,
rate?
like, yeah, and-
So-
yeah.
I'm willing to reach out to her if you want to get that information. Is that appropriate?
I will talk to Linda.
Oh, okay. So it's the long term and the short term and the long term impact. Because you brought up some points, Henry, that I think we need to consider. And of a tax rebate at one level and 2 levels and versus a reduced mill rate at a level and another level.
Amy,
So,
Amy, I think you're correct in what you're saying, but the problem is a little bit to say, what will the impact be in 5 years? Because we have no idea what the school budget, the Board of Ed
Everything
budget
changes.
will be in 5 years, because that really, really fluctuates.
Right, no, I'm asking, I'm not asking.
Just hear me out. And I think so far, the idea was to try and keep the tax rate from yo-yoing. So to keep it stable, but I'm still for trying to find out what we have, if we have a surplus. I am more for the yo-yo effect, saying, okay, we have a surplus, so next year we can go down. The year after, maybe things will change again.
And we have
But
to
I
go.
think we have to be a little careful with a plan in 5 years, because we have no idea what's coming down the road.
Right,
I
That's a good-
think that
No, I
you're
just
right.
wanted to point that out.
thanks.
I think that's a good point, Corinna.
But at least you'll have an idea, not of the
Right.
expenses, but of the revenue, impact on
Correct.
revenue.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's a really good point too, is to avoid the yo-yo if you can, but don't wipe it off the table.
Correct.
Okay. Anything, so we're gonna get more information and then we can have the discussion as you're
Right.
recommending we have it. Unfortunately, it won't be immediate. Okay, thank you. Do we have to accept selectmen's report? We just covered it. Okay, thank you. Under old business, we have the new question of the old business, which we've added solar project discussion. So, we have the solar project presentation, and as Judy pointed out, I remember asking, how soon do we have to make this decision? How much is the pressure? And it was June of next year in order for them to meet the deadline.
Yes.
And I was under the impression when he stated that the proposal was solid until then, but you're
Yes.
saying it's
Now, the
not?
proposal is solid on a pricing point of view. Our time to commit to Eversource is 6/24. By that time, we have to commit or not commit. And if we don't commit, then we're off the thing for
They don't have enough
3
time,
years.
right?
You cannot reapply for 3 years.
Right.
If we want to maintain the pricing that's been quoted, we have to commit this year.
Okay,
Why was that not made
Yeah.
clear the last time, in the last meeting, when we asked, by when do we need to commit?
Yeah, he didn't talk about the
Well,
pricing.
I really get my hackles up over that one. We asked, by when do we need to commit? Nobody said, okay, if it's about price, you need to commit in the next month. The answer was, we need to commit by next year.
Now, the question was, how much time do we have to commit? Was the question that
Correct.
the meeting. And that
Correct.
was, he said.
How much time do we have
Let
to
me
commit?
Karina, just let him finish their second.
Let me finish. His answer to that is, for Eversource's point of view, we have to commit by 6/24. But it states in the presentation that was given to everybody that was at the meeting that the prices were good through this year.
Okay, we just didn't, we didn't pick up on that, but thank you for
Well,
bringing it to
hold
our
on,
attention.
hold on. It was good through this year?
This calendar year.
The pricing of putting it in, Corinne.
Yes.
And so the pricing, the implication is that the pricing will change potentially after December 31st.
Correct,
Okay.
because
So
they,
after September 31st, not next month. That's what I'm trying to clarify.
after
After
December 31st, it's December 31st.
Okay,
But-
thank you. That's the question I have. Thank you.
Good,
So we still have a little bit of time,
right.
Right, so let's,
because he was saying he's gonna meet with inland wetlands and all of that, but they have not met yet, right?
They haven't, it's Ted, Moy sent us a letter saying that he'd like to meet with us as a rec commission too.
Mhm.
And I responded to it, and he hasn't responded. to
We
any
have a
time
meeting this week,
So
that he
we-
wants
Who
to
has a
meet.
meeting? I'm sorry, who has a meeting this week? Dee? Rec,
the rec commission.
so we're
on
still talking about that piece of land that's adjacent
the
to,
farm. Mhm, town
The
farm.
town farm,
The
just under
commitment,
the pool.
the commitment is only for that piece of land. It must be put on that property.
We understood that.
According to that agreement.
right?
Yeah, but it-
Or that bid, whatever you wanna call it.
Yeah, that
So
application
if
is
you
only for
wanna
that.
change it over to the town.
You have to apply again.
thing, then we have to make a new application, which means we can't do it until 2027.
Okay, so with regard to that, Judy was saying, asking if the communication had been made between the parties that were concerned. There was the rec commission and there was P and Z. Those were the only two that I'm aware of.
Inland wetlands.
Inland wetlands, I'm sorry, that had
I
some
think that
concerns.
we're okay with it, one of the wetlands,
Oh,
they
that's not
still,
what I've heard.
well, I talked to Susan about it. And
Okay,
I told her, let's go out and look at it anytime.
And did you?
I don't know if she's looked at it or not
Oh.
separately by herself, but
well, we went all through that property when we were doing the truck, where to put the
Right.
trash. So there was questions about that location too, because way it's designated for not necessarily floodplain, it's a different category. So you can't put anything that's got a structure in that area.
well, you can put a structure in there if it's raised from the ground.
That's not what she told me.
Who's she?
Susan.
Susan said that they could put it in there. So
We
obviously
need to
there's a
know.
discrepancy.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, we
I
should-
will talk to Susan. I will see her Wednesday. So I'll talk to her again.
If you could get for us a statement from inland wetlands and a statement from the rec commission. About if they've had a chance to have their concerns reviewed.
I told them that,
Yeah, but-
everybody, I said, look, come to me. I'll take you out there anytime. I can discuss it at any time.
It's just, we can't make a decision if, I mean,
I
we
will get
could.
them, I will get them out there prior to the next meeting.
Yeah, just say, we don't want to make a decision without your input,
but it can be elsewhere on that property.
as long as
It
it's
could
on
be
it.
elsewhere on that property, but that's the best sun exposure.
He
Yeah.
told me that didn't matter
Yeah,
that much.
She did say that.
Yeah, he did
Kind
say
of
that.
blew my
It
mind.
doesn't matter that much unless you
But it
try and
should.
put it behind a bunch of trees, then it matters a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I had asked him that, and he said
Yes.
it's not as critical as it used to be.
Right,
Yeah.
I remember him saying that
Yeah.
too. So that would really be helpful. And also, I think it would be helpful if we actually had the property visual. Instead of just a black on a proposal
Mm-hmm.
of like. Okay, if we had this laid out this way, this is, and rec commission wanted this part, and we just need to see. How does this impact the other concerned parties who are benefiting our full town? And if it could work where nobody has any issues, then we're cooking.
Well, I
Yes,
try to
or-
keep it visually away from the pool.
Right.
And that was one of the aspects I looked at, so that the pool view was not obstructed.
Okay,
These things are put up in the air about 5 feet. We've
Mhm.
never had 5 feet of water on that land that I know of. In the 7-inch rain, we did have 4 or 5 inches of water on that lower field, but these are up, they're elevated. Like you've seen 1,000 of them
Yeah.
around, so you know what they are.
Eric?
I just sometimes run in my head over what we as the Board of Finance are obligated, like, and I agree with you, I wanna see an overlay, and I've always said, everything we do. But where does our job title say we're getting into stuff outside the realm of Board of Finance? Like, I don't know, and
We will take
because I've
care of-
always been gray on that,
So-
that seems to me. is
We
always
will
gray
take
area.
care of the inland wetlands and the rec commission thing, and we'll look at alternate spots. as long as that alternate spot is somewhere on the farm, we're all set. And I don't particularly care, but I don't want to interfere with.
I'm just
the
saying is maybe it's just me being in the military, I've always said the A, B, and
If
C
it ever
plans,
happens.
and that's all.
So we, Steve has been on the Board of Finance longer than any of us, and do you, well, no, you
Yeah.
have
Well, he's old.
experience of having this role
Wise.
reviewed and questioned a number of times, and you had the benefit of being on the Board of Finance with Lou. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about his concerns about.
Well, we should be, we don't wanna get too far off from what our job is. Our job is the numbers. I think, maybe some of what we've been discussing in the last 5 minutes might be a personal thing. Where you think it best positioned, where you think where
And
it
that's
should be,
not our
where you
job.
should be. That's not really our job.
No.
I think a point that I made earlier about the infrastructure is more down the line of where the funds are gonna be going.
Mhm.
And you know, if we think it's a good, what Henry's asking for us to do is to give him the go ahead to progress further. We need to decide what we want to do with this money first.
Right, and part of what, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of where things are necessarily. What I really want to know is if we go forward with this decision, which is an investment, whether it's our money or borrowed money, that will being a return on our investment, that is a Board of Finance decision,
Yes.
you know. We want to make that decision knowing that we are not doing it at the detriment
Yeah,
of
okay.
other elements,
I agree.
other
I see
boards,
what you're saying.
and that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
We don't have to decide what the rec commission is gonna do or the wetlands. But if we were to do something without recognizing that they will be impacted, I think that would be unfriendly and irresponsible
Okay.
of us.
I see what you're saying. I
But
see
that's
what
the
you're
Board of Selectmen's
Yes.
job
Right.
is to deal with that.
Yes,
The only thing I just wanna outline is this is the only proposition we have that's revenue producing.
yeah,
And it's gonna cover the expense. ultimately.
It's gonna.
more than that, more than cover it.
Okay, so that's really what.
We're talking about whether
Would be-
we get 750,000
It will be
out of it
revenue.
or 1.2 million out of it.
Mhm.
Over a 25-year period.
It'll
I opt
way
for
more
the
than
1.2 million, but I would settle for 1 million if you wanna finance part of this for some period of time. I just think throwing that money away is ridiculous.
Okay,
I
so.
mean,
So we'll have more information from you, from those two boards,
right,
that will help
well,
us.
you'll have it from the two boards, unless it's not done by October.
Well, you're doing your best
What?
as
Three
selectmen.
boards, planning and zoning.
Yeah,
Okay, well then, you know, it's
Yeah,
like you
gotta
said,
go through all those.
and actually, you're right. We rely on you to give us that information, and you're doing your best to do that.
I'm just passing it along.
Yes, thank you. Okay, any further discussion on the solar panels?
Oh, man.
Okay, we don't have any suspense items. And new business, consider appropriations of up to $10,000 from the bridge reserve account. Number 17026466689 to pay the final bill to Cardinal Engineering for the Cobble Road Culvert project and recommend same to town meeting for approval. May I have a motion to consider an appropriation as said?
Up to 10,000.
Just to motion so we can discuss it.
My question is, why does that have to go to town meeting? I thought it was 20,000 that had to go to town.
It's a
No, anything, any
It's a reserve.
removal from a reserve account
reserve.
must go to town meeting.
Thank you. So can I have a motion so we can get it on? Thank you, Eric. A second?
Excuse me, you have to approve the purpose and the appropriation.
Okay, well, first, we're just, it says consider the appropriation. And then we'll move to approve. So we're just putting,
Just putting it on the board or on the table.
we're just gonna, we're just gonna talk about it. So we have it here. Is there anybody who has any questions about it? No?
Nothing, Judy?
No, no.
Okay.
Just answer my
I mean, we don't
question.
have much of a choice. This is something that we have to,
Okay,
right?
so,
Correct? Am I?
yes, Greg,
As chair of the bridge committee, it was always a plan to use up as much money as we could, knowing that we had the bridge reserve account to pay the final bill for the whole engineering, which has been an immense amount of time, labor and work on behalf of Cardinal. And so we're at the final stage of all the bills are in for the final work.
Yep.
And it came to be almost
I see what you
10,000.
mean.
That's why it's
Now,
up
Denise.
to 10,000.
Then that would answer
And
my
that'll
question.
be paid in full and
Roger,
it's just
that would be what?
it'll pay them in full.
1 month, what would it be what?
anyway, actually, can I ask, Judy, Eric, you made the motion. Can I
Yes.
ask you to amend your motion to,
Approve the purpose.
The purpose is to pay the final bill of carbon
I am asking,
sharing for the Covered Road project.
I will,
amend
my motion to say,
that we are approving
approving
the
the purpose.
appropriation for the purpose.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you're
I
okay
sec-
with
yep.
seconding? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. Okay, we're all in favor. And Judy. Any other business to properly become before the board?
No.
The hungry man.
Telling him.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Steve and Eric, all in favor?
Aye, aye.
Aye, aye. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. I think that there are two things I'd like to do before we go. I would like to have a moment of silence. This is the 22nd anniversary of the 9/11. For those of you who watch the History Channel, we've been playing that for the last 3 days. It's still dramatic for me to watch it. Thank you. I would also like, before we go on further in the meeting, I would like to note to everybody that's here and listening at home and put it in our minutes to thank you, Hazel, for being such a stellar part of our office staff here. Working with you has been an absolute treat. You've done an absolutely wonderful job. And we're gonna really miss you.
Well, I'm gonna miss people also, but I've enjoyed working here. But it's time to move on and let the younger generation step in. And I thank you all for.
And I am going to quickly follow your footsteps. if you want. But I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. You've been a real you've kind of cemented this organization.
Wow,
now in the town
fortunately, I
hall.
think we made a good transition, hopefully, that she'll continue with growing the grand list, which I did every year. And so I think Kayla will work out very well, and Teresa is right on track, so I don't see any problems. And
No, but I want to
thank
thank
all
you
of
for
you.
your,
we've all worked together, we all enjoy working here, I really have to say.
You've been a-
It's been.
You've been a
very
great
good. I wish
anchor.
All of you, the best of luck in retirement someday.
As we said-
Anytime now.
As we said earlier today, you were the golden thread
Oh,
in the fabric of this community and continue to be.
well, thank you. Very true. Yeah.
so now, after all that is said and done, public comment. Is there any public comment that anybody would like to make?
Yeah, I'm just a little puzzled with the way the solar farm, it seems so often something comes up and suddenly, oh, we only have this much time. And it just sounds like a used car salesman. I mean, solar technology is getting less and less expensive. This can't be the only deal in the world that will work for this. And the promise of income, I find, I mean, the ability to put this thing in correctly, we have a solar charger out here that we can't even get going. who's gonna oversee this? And I don't really understand why you were so preoccupied with it, and I'm very glad to hear a lot of conversation about bridges and roads. That's what we hire our government to do, and, but that's just, I know it's been discussed a lot, nobody has to respond, I just wanted to say that. So, and on with the show.
Thank you.
Good, okay, agenda item number 4, the approval of pending minutes. For their 3 meetings involved in an amendment to the July 11th minutes. Maybe we can take that all in one motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the pending minutes of August 14th, regular meeting, August 21st, special meeting, August 28th, special meeting, and the amendment to the July 11th, 2023 to state under new business F at verbiage in italics, P and Z appointment. Greg Marlowe made motion to approve the appointment of Matthew Mackey to the Planning and Zoning Commission, filling the vacancy created by the resignation of Garrett Scavato. Mr. Mackey's term will expire on December 31st, 2023. Seconded by David Barger, unanimous.
I think you need 2 motions, one's to approve the minutes, one's to amend.
Okay, so,
And I think you were approving, not accepting. Right?
yes,
I thought. that's right.
approving,
Mhm.
yes.
So I'll second that motion to approve the August 14th, 21st, and 28th minutes.
And
14th,
well, you
21st,
can add the
yeah.
amendment also. They don't have to be in a separate motion.
It's 6 on 8 after.
Okay, let's do it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that's unanimously approved. I will make the motion to amend the July 11th, 23 to state in as stated in here. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's moved and seconded and approved. The treasurer and tax collectors report, we have to table the tax collectors report, so
I'll
But-
move to receive the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and we need a motion to table the tax collectors report until the following month.
I'll make that motion to table the tax collector's report until next month.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, way. Communications, I got the communications from the daycare center as I have addressed. I can give that to her for copying, and they should go into the minutes of why we have are gonna give them all the money. And there other things, we got a nice letter from, that doesn't need to go in the minutes, thanking us for, sending them money out for the couple people that asked for it. You know, that one was from the, Susan B. Anthony project, I think. And that is really it. There's nothing else.
We do have the letter, Henry, from Ted Moy, co-chair of the
Oh, yeah,
Recreation
Ted Moy,
Committee.
I do have that.
And that is a lengthy letter. I don't know if we would want to read it or include it in
No,
the
he
minutes.
just wants to have a, he wants to have a stake in where they place the solar farm. And I responded to him and asked him to call me and let me know what he wants. And we also got a letter from, the, OSHA closing out all our problems with them, the fines were halved and it's been paid, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you have those for the minutes too, Henry?
I don't have a letter, I don't have a closeout, that was a note that, they sent me an email. And we made an agreement.
The one from
It's all
Ted Moy
been
you
paid.
need.
Yes.
I don't have a paper copy of it,
Oh,
but
you'll email it to
I
me?
can email it to you.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
And then we got something from Linda about a meeting Lynn had with OSHA. The OSHA guy.
That was
needs to be
the,
put on our radar to look
yeah.
at.
that was to make the corrections that were needed within, there was 7 or 8 documents attached to that.
That's just something that we have to keep,
It's well,
Put on our
it's well
to-do.
under our radar. Tim and I are handling it, and finishing it up.
okay,
Okay.
that's the letter from Linda. We're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
I'm
that for
following
Linda?
up. We're pretty much done with everything.
No, it was just while we were talking about OSHA, it popped in my head that that letter came. from
No,
Linda.
no, it's mainly about
It's just recommendations.
recommendations. And we're following the recommendations.
I just think we need a track it of that it's complete when it's finished.
We're tracking it. I think that we all have learned lessons about tracking things. Okay. Now you make me lose my,
Okay, thanks, Dave.
all right. Selectmen's report, are there any questions or additions or things that you would like to discuss about the Selectmen's report?
Let's see, is that under new business? Yeah, no, I'll set, we'll cover new business, but I was going to say.
Okay. Old business. That's number 8, 35 Railroad Street. Have we pretty much finished our negotiations concerning that?
Yes, Mr. Berger and I finished the negotiations, so full speed ahead to try to close it out
Okay,
with the town.
okay, good.
So, I mean, the synopsis of it is, be full selling price, full asking selling price as I think the decree was written in stone, in my opinion, in
Yeah.
the request for proposal. The sharing of, the proposed buyers and some entities in town and working on the parking issues in town, under
That's
the
a separate
planning and
issue.
zoning.
That's
So,
a
but that was
separate-
part of the negotiations.
Oh,
And so we settled out that and they're satisfied at this point with what we've put forth.
So we're ready to move on.
okay, nothing, no action needs to be taken there. The fiber optic, internet at the transfer station and with the, town hall, how's that coming? Dave?
We actually had a meeting, Greg and I did with the Frontier representative here last week. And he is putting together a couple proposals for us, bare minimum proposal, if you will, that we can implement right away. And then a bigger program where we would be able to have a redundant system throughout the entire town with all the town buildings utilizing the town hall as the hub.
Quite eye-opening.
Yes,
It was quite
quite
eye-opening.
opening. He's worked with a lot of towns and he is looking to see what the other towns have done and try to pattern us after for a town of similar size.
Okay. So we'll look forward to getting those. This is more for the public's information than for mine. I've already covered most of this stuff with everybody while during my vacation. Cybersecurity, and that is D, it's covered above, but we are probably, or not probably, we are going to move ahead. We put aside things for key system for our computers here in town, which actually, you actually have to put a plug in the computer to turn your computer on to get connected to the internet. It's an additional safety, recommendation that, was made to us by the cybersecurity people. And the other thing that we have to do, and we're getting ready to organize this, is we have to have a meeting with everybody in town and or in the town hall about what they can and cannot do on the internet to make sure that they're aware of threats of opening unknown emails and from unknown people, et cetera, common sense things that everybody should know. And most people, we have discussed it individually with people in town hall, but we should have a meeting on that. That was one of their things that said that we should do that. D, coordinate with town clerk. What are you talking about? there that was added.
So we tabled it and Dave, I think, had a discussion
Had a brief discussion,
with Johanna about it, but do you wanna?
go right
Take what
ahead.
the- is-
Okay.
In essence, it's just trying to, again, just improve and tighten up that wheel of information, our minutes and agendas, or more of it's our minutes getting posted. And, you know, so we have it, it's much better, but there's still room for improvement on the website. Timeliness and thoroughness, so it was just a proposal to discuss with the town clerk of maybe, because she has to post the agendas or minutes and agendas
Correct.
anyhow, to just go out to, for sake of discussion, call it the planning and zoning, go out, grab the minutes from the planning and zoning. As they put them on the website, we have 7 days, something like that, from the meeting till posting.
3
So
days, 3 days.
7,
Well, 3 days from Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance meetings.
no,
is
7.
that just for agenda though? This is minutes.
Minutes.
Oh, minutes.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did say both.
Right.
But I'm talking more like minutes, is to go out and grab the minutes herself, bring them in, and that will be her, what she posts. And it's like a second layer of protection to make sure that we meet that guideline. So if she looks at day 5, if that's the way it works in her calendar, hey, Alice, we don't have the minutes for planning and zoning, an email goes out. You know, because we all need reminders sometimes 7 days goes pretty quick. So it's sort of like the same thing we're trying to do, it's just a little bit of redundancy. But I think we're probably better off to just still table that.
I think we are, because I think as we say, the bigger conversation here, B, C, and D are actually kind of all linked together,
sort of
because
tied.
once we know what we're getting from Frontier, and we addressed some of the cybersecurity issues, we shared some of those issues with them that we had. And then it comes back to the workshop with all employees within the town hall, so they're
And that's
kind of all linked
the
together.
administration, the emails, the
Right.
passwords. You know, we came into a situation where we had an employee leave, but we didn't have the credentials to get into the system. So we need to learn from that experience and try to maybe
Yeah.
not have it happen again.
Yeah, it's easy to do. That necessitated one phone call.
Yeah, but it's still a lot of work, and there was some missing stuff, and it wasn't quite that simple.
I think the key word here is coordination.
Right. Okay, new business, we have, tax rebates. All for, various Keens, 2 for William, 1 for, Heidi. In total of $61.45. I would ask for a motion to approve the tax refunds.
I'll make that motion that we approve the tax refunds for the Keens for a total of $61.45.
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I have signed those, so I will give those to Rebecca on Wednesday. Okay, go to the, we have one thing that I just noticed on our, we have no discussion of the, there are 2 things I'd like to add to the agenda. Or one thing I'd like to, under G, because I would like to relook, I had G as, putting $6,000 to build for the maintenance for the water testing, but I'd really like to check that number and make sure that that's right, with Linda. Before I make a recommendation for that, but I would like to so I'd like to table G.
But we can discuss when we get there.
But we can discuss it when we get there. And I'd like to add an H, and that is to discuss the 3 things that you wanted under policies or,
Oh, yes,
Right.
yeah.
yes.
And so H, that would be H, which is policies or
Ordinance.
ordinances.
And would you be against item I to discuss what was brought up about the FTC? Like if there's supposed to be town representation and now there isn't.
Yeah, I can discuss it, because it really doesn't need to be. The FGC has, really restructured itself completely. They are operating now as part of the Northwest Connecticut Community Foundation. And,
So they're like a subset?
Yeah.
So they're actually go under the Northwest Community Foundation. There's no more Falls Village FD.
no, they're keeping the name as a subset under the Northwest Connecticut Community Foundation. With the funds that they have.
So the charter was originally. So I'm a little bit confused because. So they're a separate entity, but they, in their bylaws, they needed that. So in essence, I just want to make sure there's no town, nothing we need to do with the town.
There's nothing we need to do.
Because they're not anyhow connected and they do not. get
There's
any
no way we
funding.
have to discharge them like we would have
And
to a
that's what I'm
committee,
wondering.
right?
We're not funding them
Right.
for anything. We're completely separating ourselves off from it.
But when we originally started that day, or do you remember, like when we originally started, did we do a executive something? For the starting of them? So do we have
No,
to?
because they started independently.
Well, no, because that was in our budget line item,
Well, because so it's a library under our budget line item, so it's.
but they
the
weren't
Susan
under
Reed-
municipal. I
Yeah.
think it was under economic development.
No, it wasn't. It was put
I'd have to go
under,
back and check. I don't think
it was put under contributions to, other entities.
We'll have to check about it.
Yeah,
I don't
I don't
recall it that way, but I
Yeah.
just want to make sure as long as,
No, there's
We don't have to
nothing,
discharge the committee.
we have no more,
as long as there's no fish hooks in us.
no,
You know, and I'm not saying what they're doing, it could be great, I don't know about it, and if we have.
And we're adding those items by consensus.
add by consensus, yes.
I guess no FTC, we already discussed.
Okay, Fall Festival, this is relatively simple. Do I have a motion? The Recreation Commission and the Diamont Library are pairing up to collaborate on a fall festival for Falls Village. This year, we would like, this is from Emily Peterson, we would like to use the town green on Sunday, October 29th, from 1 to 3 for this event. The event will include live folk music, hay rides, crafts, games, petting zoo, face painting, and more. We're asking local businesses and organizations to be part of this community event as well, pending your approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion, just as long as we don't have a elephant or the petting zoo. I think the green is just a bit small.
Right. Yeah,
And I think they're to be commended to
Yes, they
work
are.
collaboratively.
Right.
That's really what
Yeah.
we need and want in this town, so
Yeah.
good,
Both
good for
together.
them.
Good move.
Great job,
so
Emily.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Halloween party, that is that needs our approval also, October 31st, hosted by the Recreation Commission. That will probably be done upstairs in the senior center, as usual. And
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's center on Main and
are we doing it in the center on Main this year?
Oh, that's where it usually is.
Yeah.
Oh, center on Main, okay.
And then are
yeah.
we closing any streets? Are we? closing
we
down
close
section of
we
Main
close the
Street?
center of town for a short time
Yeah.
so that they can do their parade.
Yeah,
They
so I just
And
think
I
we ought
guess-
to put that in there. I mean, I'm fully in
Yeah.
support of it,
Right.
but I think
Okay.
we should list that, because that's the constables and the
Yeah,
Falls
fire
Fire Department for traffic.
Volunteer fire
right.
department for
The
traffic.
other thing is, this will be just a separate question. I need to ask Emily, are they including trunk or treat that night?
I don't
no.
know why not.
They have in the past and we've done it. Okay, I just need to ask that
So
question,
we'll
but
put that in
that's
the motion as well, if they still do it.
right, still do trunk or
So
treat.
you want to take a crack at it?
I move that we approve the Halloween party, October 31st, hosted by the Rec Commission. It will be in the street out here, and we will close off the street as usual. And that usually at about dark, that's when we move into the center on Main for the rest of the festivities. There is just one question we need to ask Emily, and I forgot to ask this earlier, whether or not they were what's known as trunk or treat.
But
We would be fine with
We
it
would
if
be
they do.
fine with that, but I would also put that in there that we approve trunk or treat should that be part of it.
Second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Okay, appointment of the town treasurer bookkeeper, we have a motion to approve that Michelle Hanson will be, appointed as such on 11, to take effect on 11/8/2023, the day after the election.
I will make that motion that we appoint the town treasurer bookkeeper Michelle Hanson, who is currently the assistant town treasurer as of 11/8/2023, which is the day after election day for continuity.
Or what's the term?
We've
There's no official term
Yeah, there is.
anymore. What?
Yes, there is. The ordinance is to fill the vacancy between the election till January 1st and then a 4-year term.
Yeah, okay, well,
4 year?
then we'll,
I believe it is. I'll get the ordinance to make, just to make sure.
But the other thing that I would like to add, that she will have a in that position, a 3-month working test period.
okay,
Probationary period?
I don't think, I think we would call it a working test period,
Working test.
working test period or probationary. I think we can use that, either one.
I just
not
never
here.
heard that before. Working test, I like it.
okay.
I may use it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Did you add was there, I didn't hear that. Was there an addition of a test period
3 months.
starting January 2024?
Great, so what we need to do is so we're filling her in as interim
Interim until
bookkeeper.
treasurer.
Treasurer bookkeeper until an appointment in January 2024.
Isn't it like the first Monday or something?
The first Monday
Monday.
of 2024. So I guess, we could make that appointment right now for the
Yeah.
starting.
Right,
So
so
I think we'll amend your motion.
amend the motion. Let's try this again.
I hate it when you guys. Okay.
The appointment of town treasurer bookkeeper Michelle Hanson as of 11/8/2023
Until
as
the
an
first
interim
Monday.
until the first Monday of
January.
January 2024.
well, we
At
can
least.
make that recommendation now to give her
Yeah.
time. And also and do at the same time that as of January 1st, 2024, we appoint her for 4 years.
Right.
Or whatever.
So that's
So,
the
but
second part
thank
of
you.
this, after he
That's-
does his
Right,
practice period.
A
warm up,
working test period of 3
working test
months.
period.
right.
Okay, wait. The amended motion, the appoint as of 11/8/2023 as interim bookkeeper treasurer until the first Monday of January 2024.
When
And
she
then-
receives a permanent appointment and
Based upon.
based upon a 3-month working test period
And is that from
Approval.
November or from January?
From November.
from November 8th.
No, from November 8th, whatever you want.
Be like time served.
Yes.
And appoint for a 4-year term
Yes. Thank you for,
ending December 31, 2027,
20
right?
or 24-year term, 24, 28.
28, no.
No, January
Wait.
2024 till December 31, 2027, 24,
No,
25,
it's-
26,
yeah,
27.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're correct.
25, 26, 27, December 31st.
20,
27.
27. Thank you.
3-month test period. That's the amended motion. Would you, somebody approve the amended, to amend
I
it?
did.
second
No, that was-
I second the amendment.
Okay, all those in favor of
Aye.
amending your motion,
Okay,
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all those approving the motion as amended?
Aye.
Okay, good.
That's why I gave you the first crack.
The next one is to approve a recommendation to spend 2,000 from the balance of our ARPA funds for application for federal funds. for the Cobble Ridge Bridge project, and that's to make the initial application.
I will move that we approve the recommendation to spend up to $2,000 from our ARPA funds for application for federal funds for the Cobble Road Bridge project.
I'll second that discussion. I did reach back out to Cardinal because I asked him for a paper copy of the quote. I got the verbal of around 2,000. You got the same verbal. I was looking for the paper. Hopefully by tonight. They did not produce it. They do promise it by tomorrow, which is a day late, but nonetheless, just keep in mind that if we approve this, we might, I don't believe we'll have to adjust it, but we don't have the paper copy yet. But that is what was told to Henry and to myself, so I feel comfortable with that, but if it changes, I want everybody to know why it would change.
Why it changed?
Right.
Go ahead.
No, we're good.
There was,
Do I have a motion and a second?
Dave and Greg, yep.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I had something else, but I forgot.
Set date for town hearing and town meeting. The town hearing is for the sale of 35 Railroad Street. I would say that we should do that. Let me see, today is the 11th, 18th, 20. Let's schedule that for the first Monday in October. That gives.
Can I give you a lowdown a little bit?
Sure.
So I passed you a lot of information late. I apologize. One, it took me a while to find it, and two, I think Dave I passed it to you, but somehow you didn't get it the first time.
Right.
So
Go
anyhow,
ahead.
with that being said, so there's a couple layers here. So we have to do the public hearing with
Correct.
to meet 8-136, I think it is, which is
Right.
so many days before, but not more than, and such to add up.
There's
We need
two separate warnings that have to go
And
out.
we need to get a sign printed up to put on the building.
Correct.
That's a prescription. That's just the way it has to happen for the public hearing. So we're talking multiple things, right? So we're talking about the easement that we're proposing in exchange for property from 33 Railroad Street, Falls Village Inn, to make the lot conforming. In speaking with our attorney, he suggests that in a perfect world, we would have that town meeting to allow the easement to move forward. If that's successful, then when we go to town meeting for the sale of the property, we know exactly what that looks like. If the approval, so if we go to town meeting and it is approved to accept the easement exchange, but it wasn't quite finished by the time of the next meeting, it's not a deal breaker. Because it's, in essence, you have a description at that point. It's more of just a administrative issue. But in essence, it's two different meetings. And for the property sale, the discussion was brought up about tying it in with the November 7th election. For the property sale, which sounds like it'd be tight to get the easement town meeting and all the approvals in place by November 7th, but Chuck thinks it can be done with speaking with the seller's attorney and getting the cogs moving on that. The registrars are okay with that. Chuck is okay with that. There's a little prescription that the Board of Selectmen would have to do to have it on that day. Planning and zoning, who's had a major role in this sale, is in extreme favor of holding the sale of the building that day, if it's possible. So I'm just putting it out there that could be an avenue to place the building for sale. It's either way, this is a lengthy process. It's not just meet and it's one and done. There's multiple layers to it. So I'm ready for your questions because I see the eye roll.
Well, first of all, we can have the town hearing.
Right.
Because town hearing is just
Public hearing.
a public hearing.
Undoubtedly, anytime. We
So
just need to meet that prescription of whatever that is, and I don't have it in front of me, but we talked about it.
Right, And,
Correct.
Which would just mean we have to get the sign printed up so wherever we.
And
do
put
the
it
thing.
on, right?
right.
That can happen anytime as long as it's before. It doesn't need to be X number of days before a town meeting. It just needs to be part of the process. We are ready for that
Okay,
undoubtedly. And I think we're ready for a town meeting for the easement.
I
I'd be
just,
very comfortable in saying that.
let me see, when is, we could do it on the 27th of October. That would give us enough time to put the 2 ads in, wouldn't it?
What day in October? 27th. Oh, plenty of time.
That would, yeah, that would be
Because we have to
Friday.
do it, we have to do it at, between 10 and 15, we have to do it twice. Days in before.
Right, so I think maybe even the 20th would work.
I would go with the 20th.
I think that gives us enough time.
No, it doesn't.
We're missing that. We're missing a
Well-
day
Yeah,
on that second run.
you remember, you gotta post these 10 to 15 days
Oh, prior to,
prior to.
yeah.
So I was thinking of having it that.
But then is it calendar days or is it business days? I'm
It's
never quite
calendar
sure.
days,
Okay,
including public holidays.
Mhm. That would be Friday the 27th.
Or you could have it as 28th. How about making it on the 28th?
so it's 39 days to the 20th. And then add 7, so it'd be 46 days to the 27th or the 28th
Mhm.
from today.
Oh, from today.
From today.
I'm talking about September. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about October. I'm talking about
Thank you.
September.
I couldn't
Well,
figure
good.
out why you're so
Yeah.
deep in October,
Yeah,
but I thought we had to run it 2 concurrent, so that's why I thought we were deeper in October, but. I just don't have that language in front of me, but I remember it's
it's 10 to 15.
under and under and
Mhm.
under and.
No, it's two warnings between 10 and 15 days in advance of the meeting. Is what,
Can it be 2 warnings at the same time?
no,
No.
they
So
have
it
to be
has to
on 2
be-
separate days.
So it has to be 20 days out,
Mhm.
ish.
It 17, 18 days, we can put the warning in tomorrow. I mean, if we.
Right, but if it's 10 days and we have to do it twice, 10 days minimum, is that what I heard?
No, you have to have 2 separate publications in a paper between 10 and 15 days between the time you warn and the
Your actual
hearing
hearing.
date. So if we did it on the 27th of September,
That's a Wednesday.
So it's
that would
16,
give us plenty of time to do
That's
that.
15 days, yep.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, that works.
To do that,
Um,
and then that's
Only one.
done.
You only need one, according to the statute.
Chuck sent us a whole thing.
Chuck,
there.
our
Mhm.
lawyer, said that we had to do it twice.
You have to place the warning twice, yes.
Mhm.
But you only have to have one here.
One here, oh, yeah.
One hearing,
Oh,
yes.
I misunderstood.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's the posting is more complicated than a normal,
you have to post
public
on the
hearing.
building. You have to do it in the paper twice between that period of time. So,
okay, so you want September 27th,
7th,
right,
that's a Wednesday.
right.
and just for medical reasons, I would like to ask if we do it on the 28th.
Yeah, that's
Are
fine.
you okay with that? And Thursday instead of a Wednesday?
Right.
I have an appointment that day that I have to.
So that's the 28th, and that would be 18th, 25th, so that'd be a Thursday, right?
Thursday, September 28th.
And would we propose using Kellogg? I'm only trying to meet what we said we would do with,
Kellogg, we have to ask ahead of time. We have to fill out some paperwork for them.
Why don't we have it in the senior center?
I'm good with that. I
Yeah.
just was trying to meet and what time did we say, 7? Did we do a time?
No, we didn't get to a
Yeah,
time.
that would be 7 PM. Okay,
Is this
And
hearing for
the-
the sale of 35 Railroad Street and the easement? Is that what you guys said?
no.
It's the same public hearing?
It's just a public hearing for the sale of the building.
Okay, so just the
You
sale,
don't need a
not the
public
easement.
hearing for the easement, you just need a town meeting.
Okay, all right.
And, I suggest that we don't set a town meeting date now, whether we have it in the election. Or if we get something
have time.
earlier,
We have time.
we can move on. We could just have a special meeting.
And we gotta kind of dot our i's with Chuck, circle that wagon a little bit too, to make sure that I gave you a lot of information, both of you, make
Mhm.
sure that my interpretation is what you're reading.
Okay, well, I unfortunately, I didn't get it in time to,
I sent it right out as soon as I left.
did you?
Yeah, there's something wrong. You're not getting my emails.
Well,
Did you
I
get it this
did-
afternoon right after?
Yeah, I've got it.
That's weird.
Well, no.
Maybe I'm in your spam folder.
Probably, no, you're in there, I just didn't have time to read it.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Right.
no worries. It's just his opinion, because it's clear like mud.
Okay, G is just,
I don't have a motion or second or.
Oh.
Oh, that's a valid point.
all those of that in
So
favor.
I'll make that motion that we do it on that day,
September 28th.
Mhm.
8 p.m. at the senior center,
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
At the senior center.
8 p.m. we'll have to serve warm milk.
Yeah.
It'll
To
be getting
discuss the
late.
sale of 35 Railroad Street.
Yeah.
Correct. And I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, so,
And a public hearing, so we have to do, or a town meeting, we gotta sign, not a
Mhm.
public hearing.
yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, he could have the easement done in 2 weeks. And he could have it not done for 2 months.
All right.
And that's all in
That's the
his,
issue.
when you read his,
Yeah,
you'll see.
I understood it. I understood it. Probably no one else did, but I understood it.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Item G,
And that is to recommend to the Board of Finance adding 6,000 to the building maintenance for water testing. I would really like to table that motion. I mean, we can have a discussion about it, but I would like to table it because I'd really like to go through that in a little bit more detail with Linda.
yeah, I'm completely fine tabling it. My only questions would be, I'm a little bit, I just need clarification. So we hired, and I don't remember the person, to be the blank, the water licensed
Mhm.
The certified operator.
certified
for-
operator. And what did we get for the certified operator? I thought we got water testing with that bid, but apparently we must not have. So what does the certified water operator do? I thought that they collected the sample and sent the sample, and that was the job, but I'm wrong. I
Well-
feel like I'm wrong.
No, the thing that's costing the money is the testing.
So that was not part of the
It is part of it, but
operator?
my understanding when I did it. When we set up the thing was that we had to do like the normal water system, you do it quarterly. So it's 4 times a year.
Oh, so it was just, so the problem is with the contract with the licensed operator, it's not with the actual water test. So maybe he didn't have all the information they needed to do it every month,
Well, he knew that, I didn't.
but I thought he gave us a price.
He gave us a price for water testing. And he was the cheapest on all levels.
Oh, so let me get this straight. So his contract is just to take the water sample.
Right.
Correct.
See, I didn't know that. I thought that when we
No.
hired him, it was to maintain it, to take it and send it, and
Yeah.
that was my understanding at that time.
And my understanding was a little bit different too, but all 3 of them quoted it in the same manner. But there's a big difference between doing 12 water tests and 3 water tests or 4 water tests.
So I guess, yeah, we'll just table it. We need more information. Maybe
Yeah.
we could get the, I would just like to see the water contract as well, the
Okay.
tester, just so we have it for, I don't think we
will
have
get
that
it
in the
for you.
records. I don't think we have.
Yeah, we do have it in the record.
No, I'm sorry. I don't think we ever put that in the minutes originally when we spoke about it, right? Cause we didn't have it. We just
Right.
went off from.
The
I know you
recommendation,
have it. We just went off your recommendation.
the recommendation, yeah, because
should
the
have it.
Aquarian had recommended them also.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
like 4
Aquarian
different people.
Yeah, 3 or 4,
The unfortunate part of it is water testing is gonna be the same for everybody.
right.
And when we sat down and did the budget,
We didn't know.
I thought it was absolutely fine because I thought we might go over by $200 or something because of the screw up with the state in the 1 month.
All right, well, if need be to get it before, if we need it before, and it sounds like we do, the next Board of Finance, we'll just do a special meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty close to being out.
So I moved the table item G.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, H, policies or ordinances.
I drafted three different policies or ordinances, and I would ask you to read them over. I'd like your input. I'm sorry, I did not get them to you earlier, but I know that we had collectively spoke about all three of them. Bring us into compliance with, at least with the raffle one, bringing us into compliance with the state.
That will
I have a
probably
copy
to
for
be
you
an
too.
ordinance.
So I think that
Okay.
Or it could be just a.
Just the local bidder preference. I worked with Connecticut Council of Municipalities on putting together a local bidder preference. And again, it looks at taking town-based businesses and giving them the preference of since they are taxpayers within the town, giving them the preference when it comes to being the lowest responsible bidder. And again, this is excerpt from, I shouldn't say excerpt, but put together with at least 14 other towns of our size that utilize this type of ordinance or policy, however we want to adopt it.
Dave, I think, and we kind of know where the history came on this. I think we almost, I mean, we pulled it out of their ordinances and they did it as an ordinance instead of a policy. Do you know why that would be?
There's towns that have done it, and I don't have the answer. Okay, Greg. I know there's towns that have done it as an ordinance, and there are other towns that have fiscal managers and that type of thing, and they
Maybe
do it
that's
as a
why.
policy. So it might be open to us to do it either way, and that's why when we had the discussion, we can adopt it as either.
I mean, Henry, what are your thoughts on this? I almost sort of think that a policy is more than suffice on this until if we decide we want to do,
Right.
we have a bunch of work to do our
Well,
ordinances anyhow.
First, I would.
But to get it in place, instead of going through the process, I think.
I think we could
for
adopt it as a
starters
policy.
Is
First-
easy.
First of all, I think that the first thing I'd like to do is be able to read it more carefully.
And that's why I bring it tonight, and I apologize for not getting it to you earlier.
And so I agree that it should be a policy, not an ordinance, but I think it's a very, very good idea, but I would like to read the verbiage.
No, please do. Like I say,
A little bit more carefully than I have tonight before,
Yeah, I don't care about approving it tonight. I'm just saying it's gonna be a lot quicker process to make it a policy rather than an
Right.
ordinance. But we do have a lot of ordinance work coming up
yes, we do.
on the plate.
Okay, number 2 on the ordinance. Drum roll, please. Acting on a number of complaints that we've had in the town center and other places. An ordinance regarding allowing dogs on property of other than owners. And again, I didn't invent the wheel here, I just reinvented it. No owner or keeper of any dog shall allow such dog to be upon the property of another unless the owner of the land has given the owner or keeper permission to have the dog so present. On public or quasi-public property, the dog is properly on a leash of no more than 10 feet in length, securely held by the owner or keeper of the dog. The important part here, owners and keepers of dogs shall be responsible for the immediate removal of any feces discharged by said dog when such discharge occurs off the owner's or keeper's property. This includes, but is not limited to sidewalks, public streets, median dividers within public streets, grass or paved strips between streets and sidewalks, public parks and other property. This provision of the ordinance shall not apply to any visually impaired person by a guide dog or any physically handicapped person who the circumstances is unable to comply with this ordinance.
Okay, well, I make the same comment. I'd like to read it and go through it, before we adopt.
And right, and again, puts a little bit more teeth into the state statute, which is presently 22-364, which is not allowing dog to roam. And last but not least, for your reading pleasure.
Can we feed roaming dogs to bears?
No, and no feeding roaming bears either. Remember, we were the first town in Connecticut to have the bear statute.
We were.
And again, to bring us into more compliance with the state here, bazaars, raffles and bingos. Okay, please read that over. I've also prepared the forms that are state forms that we can utilize, but I'm not going to distribute those yet. That would be killing a lot of trees.
Definition of a bazaar. I just don't quite know what a bazaar is. Is it? How do you define a bazaar?
We haven't had a fireman's bazaar. We haven't
that
had
like
in
an old
years,
word?
but
Is it?
it is within the state statute.
So the state knows what a bizarre.
The state knows what a bazaar is. The state knows what bingo
I'm glad
is.
they do. I don't know.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's what we have, a bunch of.
Games of chance and things like that.
You know.
So I make sure you didn't spell it wrong.
No,
BIZA.
Oh, no, I spelled it correctly.
Okay.
No, it's not bizarre.
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 Sorry. Glad you got my joke.
But again, that should be an ordinance also.
That should be an ordinance.
That should be an ordinance.
I would, just,
Bears, bazaars and raffles. And dogs.
right, my feeling on this is I just would like to.
Absolutely.
Study the language a little bit before adopting these, but. So I would make a motion that we table these until.
Just wanted to get them out to the meeting.
They're very well done.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh. Aye. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Oh, what time is it?
8:42.
Thank you.
8:42. Thank you.
Thank you all.